Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. This is my weekly compendium of case reports between the 17th to the 22nd of March, 2021. Case files number 80 to 86. Case file number 80, written by user So Skinny. In a restaurant, receives their order. 2 containers there was, he knew with certainty. Or so he thought. This literally just happened to me like an hour ago, and I'm still in disbelief that it actually happened. Me, 22, and my sister, 18, went to go get some food from the restaurant Noodles & Co., which is a pretty popular food chain here in Metro Detroit. I ordered my food to go, and my sister didn't get anything except a drink to go. We're waiting for my food. My sister already got her drink. Her and I are just talking when we noticed an employee put 2 bowls of food in a bag. Keep in mind that both me and my sister saw him cook the food, put it in the bowls, and put the bowls in the bag. Then he calls out, "Order for Matt," which had to be me since we were the only ones in there. My sister and I knew the order couldn't be right though, because he put 2 bowls in there and I only ordered 1 entree. I decided I would check the food when I got back to the car, to make sure at least one of the bowls was mine, and I was going to give the other one back. As we're walking back to the car, my sister says to me, "I don't think that's your order because you didn't get 2 entrees." I told her I thought so too. I peeked in the bag to check the food, but I couldn't see it properly while walking, so I waited till I sat in the car to look. This next part is crazy. We get into the car and I go to grab the bowls out, and I just about pooped my pants. There was only 1 bowl in the bag. I just stared at my sister with my jaw dropped because we both saw him put 2 bowls in that bag and then hand it to me. I'm gonna be honest, I've seen many posts on this page I find hard to believe sometimes, but after having that happen to me, I have a new outlook on life, it feels like. It's such a small glitch, but it literally just can't be explained, and I'm shook for life. Case notes, file number 80. Indeed, it's a simple glitch, yet it strikes your brain like a spiked baseball bat, doesn't it? I've mentioned it prior, but the only proper glitch that I know happened to me was when I was throwing a ball around, and suddenly it just didn't exist anymore. Nowhere to be seen. Literally was impossible, similar to your situation of an item you know should have been there, but wasn't. You're lucky in a way though, because your sister was there to confirm. It helps you feel less crazy, no doubt. Case file number 81, written by user Anonymous. This story is of sobriety, a penny, and my grandfather. I have to explain some things first. My grandfather was an alcoholic. He began drinking due to the war, World War II, at age 22. The stress of combat got to him. He later became sober in his early 50s after immigrating to America. I never knew him as an alcoholic, as he was sober by the time I was born into this world, but I had heard brutal stories from my mother and aunts. I always felt incredibly connected to him. My mother and aunt used to remark all the time about how similarly I carried my mannerisms and speech. I would, and still do, have unexplainable dreams of him and his experiences both during his life and after he passed. Once he had died, my mom and aunt would cry anytime I would remind them of him because of their own grief. Fast forward to my own life. I began drinking at age 18, and by 24, had developed a pretty bad drinking problem that directed me to several near-death experiences and hospital trips. It was burning down everything it touched in my life. By the time I was 28, it had reached an all-time low, and I was finally at my wit's end. My options were to quit, or die, or kill myself. One thing my grandfather did frequently when I was growing up was offer me loose change, usually pennies, as a joke, and then promptly gave me a crisp $20 bill as the big reveal. After he died, I felt like I would find heads-up pennies in strange places at odd times. Pennies I swore I didn't recognize as being there before. This became something my mother and I enjoyed reporting to each other about. It was a fun way to think of him, although I'm very skeptical of these things and not really a believer in the paranormal. Despite that, I loved calling my mom up to tell her that I'd find a heads-up penny moments after getting a raise at work, and other events of that nature. For this story, the night was August 9, 2018. My fiancé and I were staying up waiting for midnight to come, because at midnight, I would finally be free of the bondage of addictions, marking my first full year completely dry, something I could have only dreamed of before then. We were sitting on the couch reminiscing of the hard times and the good times. We were just holding each other and laughing, sometimes crying too. It was a wonderful evening. Finally, the alarm on my phone went off, signifying it was midnight and that my victory had arrived. About half a second to a full second after I silenced the alarm, we heard a coin hit the floor in the kitchen. It startled both of us. My fiancé in particular jumped because the house was silent. I got up and walked over to the kitchen. There on the floor, seemingly grinning at me, was a heads-up penny. The shock and disbelief and feelings of utter warm joy cannot be described in this post. I felt as if my skeptical world and connection with reality had glitched in such a way that I never experienced before, and still have not experienced since. I sat down on the couch and immediately dialed my mother. To my surprise, she answered immediately and said she had also been waiting up for midnight to come so she could call me and congratulate me. I stopped her abruptly and explained to her in sharp detail what had just happened, and said I had my fiancé sitting with me as my witness. A silence came over the line, followed by my mother sobbing into the phone. "Oh, Daddy, Daddy," she sobbed into the phone. We both sat there on the line, crying, laughing, and embracing the warm feeling of the moment. Ever since that night, I've stopped finding pennies in strange places. I don't know what really happened, but I sure do think of it every day. This August, I will be 3 years bone dry sober, and I'm set to marry my best friend this summer. Case notes, file number 81. Congratulations on the upcoming nuptials. This was a beautiful tale. The force of our loved ones, whoever we're connected to and who connects with us back, it seems to persist throughout death, in mechanisms we don't fully understand. I mean, we have quantum immortality, we have ghosts or echoes of past loved ones, but there seems to be even more. But that's okay, we don't understand everything yet, but we can appreciate these moments. We can continue to love each other fiercely, and delight in these hints they leave behind for us. They're like little nudges to know they're still paying attention to our stories unfolding. Truly beautiful. Case file number 82, written by user Ringing Shay. From heating up leftovers to an early rise in bed 3 days later. No memory of anything in between. This happened in January 2015. I was 3 months pregnant with our first son. My ex-husband woke me up extremely excited, manic you could say. "Where were you? And what the hell?" he yelled. It was no later than 4 a.m., so I was very disoriented, and immediately started an argument, which ended with me not really remembering going to bed the night before. Talking more about it, I realized an extra 2 days had passed, don't remember days of the week, and had a complete blackout. The last thing I remembered was heating up leftovers from the food we ordered for dinner. It was about 7 p.m., and my ex-husband went to get his car back from the mechanic. He said I okayed him calling Uber from my phone, but I can't recall that. After coming back, I was nowhere to be found. My keys, wallet, and phone were there, but I was gone. He immediately went to the only neighbor we used to hang out with at a time, but I wasn't there. He waited a few more hours, then called the police. From what he said, the next 2 days were hell. The hospital kept calling. I'm a nurse. Friends I made plans with called, and no one had any idea where I was. On the third day, I just appeared in our bed in jammies. The door was locked, and my ex-husband hadn't even slept. He was drinking and walking around the house all night. I didn't lose my job, and we had no problems with authorities, but to this day, I can't figure out what could have happened. Case notes. The possible explanations that jumped to my mind. The first, a little alien spice. 2 would be a dissociative episode. And 3, an actual human abductor, because I think some drugs used to knock people out also cause amnesia. The question I have is mainly regarding your body's status. Did you feel okay on the 3rd day when you remembered coming back to? Any bruises anywhere, scars or headaches? Or were you perfectly normal without any symptoms? If the author responds, I'll add their notes down below. Case file number 83, written by user Marjorie SB. We all know socks vanish inexplicably, but they aren't supposed to be returned. I think I just bore witness to the mother of all sock glitches. I have 4 socks in my dresser which, over the course of the past year or so, have become unpaired. I've semi-jokingly pinned this on the wormhole or pocket dimension or sock thieving entity that purportedly exists in washing machines across the world, and dryers too. I've kept these lone socks around because I'm the type of person who wears mismatched socks anyways, so it was all fine and dandy. What's less fine and dandy is the fact that all 4 of the lost socks just appeared in my laundry hamper today. Like, they were just lying there, on top of a few articles of clothing. They weren't ratty or tattered or in any bad condition at all. I'm flabbergasted. There is no way, no chance whatever, that they were in this hamper the whole time because, 1, I live alone and I'm entirely responsible for the placement of my things, and 2, I'm fastidious when it comes to cleaning, organizing, and putting things away, so I would have noticed them. And also 3, I've changed washing machines and hampers, and that's after these socks went missing. What? What do I do? Do I thank the universe? Do I throw them out in case they're cursed or something? Or do I just continue on like all this is totally normal? Case notes, file number 83. What a cute glitch. And yes, socks do go missing all the time. The most common glitch in the universe, perhaps, or maybe we just forget them, clung to the innards of our washing machines and dryers. For your specific case, however, them appearing in your hamper doesn't strike me as the typical sock system malfunction. There's one small and unsettling possibility. I've heard of squatters living in people's attics, even in their walls, without the owners knowing, for years. I highly doubt this is the case, and even if it was, why would they return socks in such a way? Or even have them to begin with? But it's just a thought. The author responded to my comment, saying, I know on the surface it's a seemingly innocuous and common event, but the closer I looked at it, the more I saw the whole thing as surrounded by impossibility. And that's what got me so worked up about it. I like explanations. I'll even settle for an outlandish and improbable explanation. But for this, I don't have any explanation whatsoever, and it's kind of grating on my sanity. Ah yes, I've heard of such stories, super weird and kind of shudder-inducing. But no, I don't think that's the case for me. For one, I probably would have noticed more missing items than just socks if I had squatters. And 2, with the way the walls and attics are insulated here, those people would have to be on the resident side of the walls in order to benefit from the insulation. Our winters dip into -50s and lower, so if I did have squatters at some point, it's fair to say they're part of the framework now. Case file number 84, written by user Pluvios. Waiting for her boyfriend. There he is, but why is he leaving? My boyfriend and I have a tradition where we'll meet at Sheetz and get curly fries and milkshakes together, then sit in the car and listen to music. His workplace is only about a minute's drive from the Sheetz we go to, so we meet there after his shifts typically. We decided to meet up last night like usual. It was just after 8 p.m. when I pulled into the parking lot. I saw his car and parked in the spot right next to him, fully expecting to look at him through the window and see him laughing at my bad parking. I turned and looked at him through the window, and we locked eyes for a moment, until I watched him back out of the spot and drive to the exit of the parking lot. I watched him stop at the stop sign and then drive away on the route he always takes to go home. I sat there, extremely confused. I checked my phone for a text in case maybe something had come up and he needed to go home, but I had no messages from him. I started to panic a little, wondering if I had done something wrong and he was upset with me, but even then, he's not the type to just leave like that. I sat in my car for a few minutes before deciding to text him. All I sent was, before he replied, "I'm here." I was even more confused. I know I had seen him leave. I saw him in his car, wearing the purple shirt and hat he'd been wearing all day, and I saw his license plate. It's a 4-letter word, so it's easy to memorize. I know I had seen him. I watched him leave the area and start going home, so there was no way he could have pulled into the parking lot without me seeing. He told me to meet him inside, and sure enough, there he was at the door, heading into the building. I was pretty startled, and I still am, because I know for a fact that I watched him look at me through the window, and then just leave. I told him what happened, and we both just laughed it off, but I can't help but keep feeling weird about it. I can't imagine how someone else could look exactly like my boyfriend and have the same car and license plate. I don't know what happened, and I'm a bit worried I hallucinated it or something. But yeah, that was my glitch. Case notes, file number 84. I've probably read 4 or 5 of these types of duplication glitches just this year. It's disturbing. A doppelganger doesn't fit here, because he was wearing the same clothes, driving the same car. It's almost as if your boyfriend was lagging ahead of where he was supposed to be. So the inverse of lag, I guess. I read the comments here too. You said he didn't notice anything off on his end, and thinks you must have hallucinated. The mind is powerful, true. It can make us see things we expect to see, especially in brief flashes. But you said that you locked eyes with him, so it's more than just an unsettling peripheral glimpse in this case. If he was ahead in time and rewinded back by the developers of this little game called life, then he wouldn't have any memory of the event that for him, in his current state of mind, never happened. To me, this just exemplifies that we are part of a simulation. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Case file number 85, written by user 77 Funerals. Lights, sounds, robbery. This happened about 7 months ago. I live in Boston, Massachusetts. Obviously, depending where you go, certain spots are more dangerous than others, but I've always felt pretty safe. I never had anyone try to rob me before, and yeah, I've had some trouble with people before, but this was all my fault because of the situations I put myself in when I was younger. Anyway, I'm walking home from my girlfriend's house in Somerville. I had to edit this as I originally wrote work by accident, since I was just thinking about my job being closed. I was bummed out because of the virus and everything, and I work at a tattoo shop, so my shop was closed and money was tight. Here I am smoking a cigarette, and this guy just walks up to me, nice as can be, and asks if he can have one too. He's listening to music on his phone. I could hear it faintly through his headphones. I said yeah, of course, and hand him 2. He says, "Thank you so much." Even offers to pay. I tell him, "Nah bro, it's cool." Then his phone rings. He answers it, and his phone screen starts blinking violently. Like if I was epileptic, I would have probably dropped down in spasms. I hear really weird beeping blaring through his headphones. The guy suddenly puts his phone away and throws a cigarette away too, and takes out a knife and starts talking in a whole other language. I said to him, "Come on man, you're supposed to rob the guy who says no to the cigarette." He gets aggravated, and even though I can't understand him, I could tell by the volume of his voice he's getting mad, so I say, Alright, just take it man." I wasn't dying over $160. I take the money out of my wallet and hand it to him. He says, nothing, in broken English, and points to my wallet. I'm like, "You're kidding me." He gestures at me to hand it over, so I do. Then, all of a sudden, he gets another phone call. He answers it. I forgot to write that the color of the flashes were white originally, the first time. I pay really close attention to the phone because of how everything changed once he answered it. He answers, and this time, it's flashing pinkish red colors. The guy puts a knife in his pocket. He puts his phone away calmly and thanks me again for the cigarettes in perfect English. Now, this scared me more than anything because I'm like, dude, is this guy having split personalities? What the hell is going on? It scared me more than the knife. I say to him, "You have my wallet and cards. That's all I got. Can I go now?" He says, "I have your what?" I tell him, "My wallet and cards. It's all I got. I don't have anything else." He reaches in his pockets frantically looking like someone who lost their car keys and pulls out my wallet and opens it. He looks at me with more fear than I had when getting robbed. He just threw my wallet on the floor and started running as fast as he could. I just stood there for a good minute or two, trying to understand what the hell happened. I grabbed my wallet and walked back, not knowing what to even say. Case notes, file number 85. So my bet on this is very simple. It's practically screaming through those beeps on his phone. This is some sort of government tech being tested, or maybe even a corporate invention. It seems to be some kind of mind control tech, or at least some way to influence people. Get the tinfoil hats out because we'll be needing them. Or perhaps we'll need tinfoil glasses. Case file number 86, written by user Rushnav. They arrived 90 minutes earlier than is possible. So for some backstory, I moved away from my hometown a few years ago for school, and I live 3 hours away from my friend's house currently. I usually drive down once a month or so to visit, and it's pretty much always taken me 3 hours to drive down, or seldomly 2 hours and 45 minutes if traffic isn't bad. I've done this drive dozens of times, so I know the route well. The distance between my house and my friend's house is 178 miles. A few months ago, my brother and I start driving to our friend's house at exactly noon. As soon as I got into my car, I texted my mom and friends to let them know we were coming down for the weekend. The drive itself was nothing noteworthy. Traffic was lighter than normal, but as I said, nothing happened out of the ordinary. I tend to go a little over the speed limit of 70 miles per hour, but never over 100 miles per hour. Too dangerous for public roads with other people around. Once we arrived at my friend's house, they were confused as to why we were so early, so I checked my phone and it was only 1:30. We made it to their house in an hour and a half. We drove 178 miles in 1.5 hours. That equates to an average speed of 118.6667 miles per hour. Granted, I drive a sports car, but my car is limited to 124 miles per hour for top speed, and there's no way I could keep it pinned at 124 miles per hour the entire way. The cops and engine would definitely not allow it. To say we were surprised would be a gargantuan understatement. I never use my phone while I'm driving and rarely look at the clock in my car since my attention is on the road and other drivers. There is no logical explanation that we could come up with. I knew for a fact that I never went above 100 miles per hour. I knew exactly what time we left since we have text showing the exact time we left, and our friends confirmed that we did show up at 1:30. The only illogical explanation is some sort of time dilation. But I say illogical since that theory is only applicable to particles traveling near the speed of light, not a car going under 100 miles per hour. Case notes, file number 86. Indeed, time dilation via the Lorentz transformations does not kick in at the measly speeds where humans are capable of traveling at. Even in our fastest spaceships, time distortion is almost impossible to detect. You have astronauts in space that have to adjust their times, and the GPS too, but it's by seconds, like every year or something, if even that. But there are many reports from other people who lose time, or gain time, or are stuck out of time, but yet still bound to the gravity of Earth, as these phased out people don't emerge in empty space where the planet was when they were desynced. It also could be aliens, of course, but during the daytime I'm less sold on that notion. And also, usually abductions result in time loss. You're not usually given a hitch in the direction you intend to head to, if you're physically transported at all. That said, if you or your brother have any odd markings, or if your car was acting odd, abductions can often mess with the electronics in newer cars, then let us know for sure. Oh, and also, is the GPS in your phone active? Because you could track the path you took, or if you suddenly appeared ahead in this path without anything connecting to it. So if the line on the map shows that you were in one spot and then way ahead, like an hour ahead, without having traveled that distance, well, you know something happened there. Maybe if that's the case, you could go back to the point where there's this gap and see if there's anything odd there. Could be an idea. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. And if you're new around here, I have a lot more content on my channel.